Whether you're designing a garden or planting veggies, it's all about space. So how far apart should your plants be? Now, everything that you chuck in your garden has a certain habit and growth rate. And when you buy seeds or a new plant, the label will give you the height and the width of the plant when it reaches maturity, which gives you an idea of how much space it needs. It's pretty simple, really. All plants need enough room for their roots and their leaves so they can maximize growth. We all know how big cabbages can get. Huge. So it's pretty easy for us to imagine the size that many veggies and herbs will get to when they're fully grown. If you're planting seedlings and you want a top quality harvest, follow the spacing instructions on the label. This will ensure that you get quality over quantity. It's telling me that these Swedes are best planted 20 to 25 centimetres apart. Now, I know the label said 20 to 25 centimetres, but Swedes are big, so I'm being a bit cheeky, and I'm planting them at 30. Now, whereas your Swedes need a lot of space above the ground, your carrot needs deep space vertically below the ground, but not so much horizontally. And when it comes to pumpkins, some cultivars may have different sized fruit, but all of them are gonna scramble and need heaps of space. If you're growing from seed, like me, you can be a bit more liberal with your sowing. The correct spacing for these carrots is 30 centimetres between the rows, but only a couple of centimetres between each of the plants. But the good thing about sowing a little bit more thickly is you get the added bonus of thinning out, so therefore, a couple of extra harvests. Now, if it's ground covers you're after, it's best to choose plants that are fast growing and naturally dense. Like this Iberis sempervirens here, a tough little ground cover that spreads to about 70 centimetres. And because of its density, it acts like a really good weed suppressant. And it holds these blooms for a very long time, so you can be enjoying them season after season. Marjoram has a low spreading habit that gets to about 50 centimetres. In this situation, it's planted with creeping thyme and alpine strawberries to create a herb lawn. Now, normally we give our plants plenty of space, but here we pack them in a little bit closely together so they can grow into each other. Effectively, it's creating a living mulch that's suppressing weeds and helping to protect the ground. But the best thing about a herb lawn is they taste great and they smell amazing. If you're wanting to create dense plantings using shrubs, then think carefully about what you're trying to achieve. Do you want a thick hedge to create a boundary, or are you after a screen to allow a certain amount of light and views through? These Camellia sasanquas were planted about 10 to 15 years ago as a screen, whereas these were planted last season. And as you can see, they haven't really grown into themselves yet. Good plant spacing means better long-term outcomes than if you were to pack your plants together for an instant display. And you use less plants. Murraya exotica Hiko is a classic hedging plant with glossy green foliage and a butte citrus blossom scent. Stock like this at around 15 centimetres high are a good way to start when you're planting a large quantity. Plants this size are not only cheaper, but they actually transplant better, rather than a big, expensive plant that's been mollycoddled in a nursery and suddenly has to deal with the shock of a drastic change in conditions. The Hiko will grow to about 2.5 to 3 metres high, with about a 1.5 to 2 metre width. I want the hedge to only get to about 2 metres high, so I'm going to plant them a little bit denser, and due to the competition, it'll reduce the vigour and therefore the overall height of my hedge. I've spaced these about 1 metre apart, which should mean that they get to about 2 metres in about 4 to 5 years. Those of you who are a bit further north, you may expect that to happen just a bit quicker. As your hedge grows, pruning out the tops will maintain a consistent height and encourage bushier vertical and bottom growth. The denser you make your plantings, the more competition there is. So therefore more maintenance, more water and fertiliser inputs, and a higher chance that your plants may not look their best because of the extra competition for space and resources. This is often why you might see a hedge of plants doing really well for a while and then a couple die off. The back section of this Camellia sinensis hedge is struggling due to the root competition and the shade cast by these feijoas behind. If you've got a situation like this, you may want a few extra plants to fill in the gaps, as well as adding more water and food to this area so all your plants have an equal opportunity to thrive. It's best to consider all of these factors before you plant. So whether you're just after healthier plants or higher yields in your veggie garden, or you just want that plant to grow into the spot that you bought it for, think about how you space your plants. Follow the guides and you'll have great success in your garden.